Welcome back to the ATI podcast. We have a very special episode here today. We're at 110, and we've got Aiden from CIVEROUS with us on the call. Ridge is joining me. Aiden, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you guys doing on this Friday evening?
Oh, we're doing fantastic, sir. It's a real pleasure having you here on the podcast, sir. We've already been singing your guys' praises with the new album out, Mayze Envy. Really enjoying that. That's been constant in the rotation around here. I know for sure, Ridge.
Definitely.
Love it. How many times have you spun that record already?
Probably about at least over 10. But I did get it like a few days early before the release.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of CIVEROUS.
It's a lot of CIVEROUS, but I'm okay with that.
All right.
I've been following y'all for a while, so I knew what I was getting in for.
Yeah. Ridge has been bearing your guys' flag for some time here. He kind of smartened the rest of us on the podcast network up to you guys. We kind of saw that rise and, that eventual signing with $20 spin for you guys too. And it was kind of a part of this movement, at least in our friend circle lately, of many artists that were noticing from the underground starting to get the attention that they deserve. You guys being one of them. We just talked to Maul a couple weeks ago, our buddy Garrett, label mates of you all as well. So we're really loving seeing all these underground bands getting the recognition that they need and, these label deals and just more eyes on their product.
Absolutely. I think we're at a really cool cross section right now where there's a large number of bands that are kind of, as much as I love the OSDM resurgence, I think bands are kind of realizing that's run its course. Mm-hmm. And I know we're not trend chasers. Maul is the same way. Worm is the same way.
Right.
A lot of the $20 spin bands, Dave has a knack for he says he just books his favorite bands. And he's got a great taste and recognition for bands that are like kind of on the edges.
Yeah.
There's definitely a solid roster there. Witch Vomit's new album is amazing. Slime Lord, that album was a trip. And I love being on those edges and trying to push what people expect from a Death Doom album.
It seems like $20 Spin is a very ambitious label in that having that selective ear with talent and stuff. I mean, you go back and you think about even bands that they had on their label years ago, like Paul Bear, they kind of would break the trends and they're not like subscribed to just one particular subgenre.
Absolutely.
They have a long roster of amazing bands. Vastum, fantastic.
Yeah, Vastum's a great one. I honestly was not super familiar with $20. I was more like a Profound Lore and like some of the bigger ones, Metal Blade and stuff. Because I'm the one guy in the band that comes from more of a hardcore background.
Oh, okay.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
So I was big when I first moved to LA, I dove headfirst into the punk scene. Shout out to all those guys. Some of those bands are killing it now. Firestarter, Major Pain. I was in a few bands, and then I actually worked with the current producer of CIVEROUS, Andrew Solee, when he made the jump to like doing audio full time. He worked with my hardcore band. We also worked with Rolly from Teeth and Zompantly.
Oh, nice.
And
Teeth
later on, when Andrew grew up with some of the CIVEROUS guys, and he's known them for 20 plus years. So when it came time for them to need a new drummer, because I am not the original CIVEROUS drummer. I came in right after the release of DFR. So he hooked me up with the guys, and it's been a little bit over 2 years. But I've never had a band click like this. So
that's amazing.
A beautiful experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I love hearing that background from you coming from a different area and focus too. I mean, I guess I can see some of that translating in the album now that I'm thinking about it. And we're going to get into the weeds on the album here tonight. Real deep in the weeds.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm ready for it. Love those questions.
One thing I was kind of curious about too, not to kind of wrap up the $20 spin talk, is do you feel just artistically that there's kind of like healthy competition between betwixt the bands now? Like you guys get amped, you hear somebody else's release to kind of drive and push you forward?
It's I've always believed in high tides rise all boats.
Yeah.
A healthy level of competition is great. The unhealthy level of competition is where you start butting heads and stuff, right?
Yep.
But
for sure.
all of our contemporaries, I think everyone on that label is killing the sound that they're going for. And in that regard, it makes us want to almost like not purposefully stand out more, but just really hone our sound. And I feel like that's what the guys were doing with the second LP, was like all the ideas that they started on the first album came to like a full form and really sprouted on this album.
Sometimes you have to go outside the lanes of, your comfort and kind of push yourself as an artist. A lot of that, again, is happening on Mayze Envy, I feel like, for you guys as artists. You see some of the traditional themes in Death Doom, but you guys are kind of even pushing the boundaries of what you guys are doing on this record. I know that it's getting a lot of critical acclaim out there too, and love. The Anthony Fantanos of the world and those types of people, you're getting eyeballs on you. How's this feeling? How you guys feeling the love?
That one in particular was surreal. Up until that point, it had been amazing. Metal Injection gave us a phenomenal review. Angry Guy Metal gave us a good review. All the staples that most people know on like metal Twitter and whatever.
Right.
Only our bass player was on there, but he was just scouring and sending us all these. And people love the strings, which I think is awesome, because a lot of those more progressive sections and even some of the jazz oriented sections, that was what we were worried about. We were like, are people going to like this? And Dave really, I don't think there was a single note that he ever made creatively. He just lets us go and is willing to take whatever we end up with. So shout out to him for that.
That's awesome.
We were very like, and Alonzo knew the whole time. He was like, no, people are gonna like people, and of course he was the one writing it. He's got I have a little bit of a jazz background, but he took a formal education at UCLA. He plays upright bass. So he all those strings, that's always my thing. They're live. He had a real quartet and I think a quintet at some point, and they got into our practice space and he arranged everything. And I love when bands take live strings rather than the digital libraries, and a lot of symphonic metal does that really well. But you get something in that performance, especially with the opening track. It's just so eerie. It makes me think of the Evil Dead every time.
Yes.
And it just, I don't think we would have ever been able to get those types of weird textures without being completely live.
That's one great point that you bring up, is there's just so much atmosphere on the new album as well, and you've already touched on some of these points, and that's kind of how things start creatively in the band, where the idea's inception goes, from its initial thoughts and to its, final destination or what the final product is. I know us as fans, we're always curious about that sort of thing, kind of for bands to peel back the curtain. What does that creative process look like for you guys, the trajectory of it?
Yeah, I mean, it was right when I joined, they had kind of had some ideas, and that's one of the things about this band. When I said everything just clicks, it was very collaborative. I've been in so many bands where one person writes everything and brings it to you. That's fine. I love learning stuff that way. But this was like someone would maybe write something on their own and then bring it to the group, and we would shred it. And right away, we would always come up with different ideas. The guys gave me almost complete freedom. There were some sections where like they made suggestions about certain types of blasts or certain subdivisions, because we've got some weird time stuff going on.
I love it.
Yeah, they just let me kind of go, and I was able to create like some motifs even in my drum playing, which I thought was cool, because we weren't shooting for like a concept album. It just so happened that a lot of the ideas kind of meshed together. And there were I remember Shrouded in Crystals was one of the first ones that we wrote, and I think there was a section of that just like wasn't meshing, and we pulled that, and I think that became either Labyrinth Charm or Levitation Tomb. But that type of stuff where we're all open to the recommendations of each other, which I respected the hell out of, especially coming out coming in as the new guy and whatever,
Right.
and they had all been together for a few years. So
Yeah.
I was just like, wow. Every time I would accidentally slip up and be like, "Oh, your band is we're doing," but they're like,
Yeah,
"It's your band too." And I was like, "Damn!" So, it's just been pure collaboration, which is awesome. It's just so nice to get in there, and again, like the live setting. This was something that a lot of bands lost during COVID. Being able to practice in person, that's when you get those like lightning in a bottle ideas that you just like record that before we forget in 5 minutes, right?
Right.
And that's how a lot of this stuff came to be. It was just hashing the riffs, and then they'd do a bend or a pinch, and we're just like, oh, do that every time. Do that. And just that experimentation and hashing it out together, I think, is what made it so cohesive, where everyone's kind of influences were allowed to peek from behind the curtain. Rather than it being like completely sectioned and like this guy wrote this song, this guy wrote this song. So yeah, that's a little bit of our process.
Yeah, things come through in the recording. I think sometimes whenever it's one person writing everything, things can get a little tunnel vision. Don't get me wrong, there's artists out there that do it and do it well. I'm not saying that, to be incredulous of them or whatever, but I love that collaborative process because it brings an energy, I think, that transfers to the recording, and we get to enjoy as listeners too.
Absolutely.
It does.
Because there's so many bands where it's the brainchild of one person and they just need help rather than doing the one-man band, right? And sometimes that can be more coherent because it's people helping with one person's vision, right? But there is something unique. Even those projects, the live aspect then becomes a collaborative effort, and you get different things live than you necessarily would on the recordings. So I think that's one of the things I've always loved about music is it's meant to be shared and collaborated, and yeah, it's a team effort.
On the new album too, I'm kind of curious too, kind of topically looking at things before we get into a micro level. Sometimes artists, whenever they're writing a record, there's not an intent between tracks necessarily. Maybe there's like a marketing intent in the way that they do their track listing. I'm just kind of curious, are you guys looking at this album, this concept, and writing tracks from start to finish? This is very intentional how you've got the track listing laid out to tell a story.
I don't think we wrote them with the intention of the order, but we definitely put a lot of thought into how we arranged it. Especially with 2-minute guitar interludes.
Right.
We were like, how do we fit that in? Because we finished with the 2 long songs. And it kind of works because those songs have those types of moments within them. So it kind of works as an even break. At first, we were like, do you want to do a 2-minute intro, then a song, then another 2-minute intro? And it just so happened to kind of end up being the whole format. It just matched up. So I think there was a little bit about Shrouded or Labyrinth being like the album opener, because those kind of both just like hit you and they give you a little bit of everything that's to come in the 9-minute, 10-minute songs.
Right.
But Alonzo ended up composing the Azure Eye, and then he did that in a way that it just goes straight into those bam, bam, on Shrouded, and we were just like, cool. Okay, that just works. Yes. And usually now, because of that intro as well, that's the song we'll open with. We can start that sample. It's 2 minutes, get set up on stage, good to go. And then when we're just in it, he just strums Shrouded and we're off.
That's so cool to hear. There's a lot of, I love the album from start to finish. You guys really are telling a story. We talked about this earlier too, atmospheric, like kind of, you mentioned Evil Dead. I did have kind of like that 80s, like horror, zombie, macabre kind of imagery in my head, like the ghostly cemetery-esque fog setting in,
I've heard a lot of people say Hellraiser, and it makes me very, very happy because of the labyrinth that they have.
Yes.
Man, I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
I didn't even make that connection until someone posted a screenshot of the labyrinth, the white maze with our maze, and I was like, yeah, we're going with it. Because Drew and I are definitely the movie guys.
Nice.
And I know he had a part in writing the lyrics, but it's mainly Lord Fowl, Isaiah. Yeah. And he just goes off, and it's so funny because he's a hip-hop head. He listens to like hip-hop and then the most underground of underground metal. and there's kind of no in
between.
I
love it.
Which is on the 4th of July, he'll play Freebird all day, and other than that,
yeah, I love it.
So it's so wild that he almost does it like a rapper. He disappears and then he comes back, and we're like, what does this mean?
Right.
And having finally read through a lot of it, because I didn't know a lot of the lyrics until later, it's a cool concept where it's Daniel kind of touched on it. It's about like we were all going through some stuff 2 years ago post COVID. I think most people were.
Absolutely.
And it's all about like kind of the maze is a representation of your own head and discovering things and the answers to things you might not want to hear. You get to the end and it's either disappointment or enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
And I think Gary On conceptually is my favorite song, the last one, because it tells a story in itself, but it also is the perfect closer. It encompasses everything that came before it.
Yes.
And I did like a live listening thing on my Twitch, and I was just like, this moment is like, he does that like really emotional scream that's very not typical. And I was like, yeah, you're at the end of the maze. You just went down the hole, and it's kind of your
that's all you got left. Yeah.
If you find anything or not, or if you ever even stop falling. So I didn't really read the lyrics, and then Drew posted them on Genius and everything, and I sat there for like a few hours, and I was like, this is daunting stuff. It's really cool. He was able to turn it into like a story rather than just like different sections and like I don't know, people were telling him he should make his lyrics more personal, and even though this could be interpreted as like this fantasy horror story through a maze, I think it shines through a lot of personal struggles at that time and is a representation of that for sure.
That's awesome. Focusing in on the fact, you're talking about Gary On at the end, and this record just builds and builds and builds from the start to finish. And my personal favorite tracks, I think, are the last three. I can't get over Levitation Tomb right now for myself.
Levitation Tomb is tight.
I just love everything that's happening in there, the dynamics, how you're differentiating between blast beats and segments, how there's halftime feels by the rhythm section in some places where the guitars stay straight ahead. I mean, just all the shifting, the tugging and pulling that's going on there musically, sonically. It's disorienting. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now.
I know, it's just,
I love that song.
It's the perfect death doom, and then you've like got like little bits of like drone and jazz like aspects and blackened, if you want to use that word, like in that, like it's
absolutely
the overall feeling of that album is just crushing and bleak, maybe, I don't know, or it could be beautiful. It could be, whichever your own, like
two sides of the same coin.
I think that's a dichotomy there. Levitation Tomb was from the get-go. I remember the first time we played that breakdown, and we were just like, this is the Sledgehammer song.
That breakdown.
And, oh man, it's so much fun to
Goosebumps
play live.
Again.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's honestly, I would say that probably is the most intricate drum work I do on the album. I know a lot of people thought it was Shrouded, but I do like one of those, like, I literally stole it from Migwa. That drummer is tremendous. He's unbelievable. He makes it look effortless, and he does like a paradiddle diddle groove between two rides, and he actually has like 3 fucking bells, so he's hitting bells too. And a lot of guys do it. Pierce from Skeletal Remains, amazing drummer. I've gotten to play with him a few times. He sets up a whole left side ride. Not in my budget right now, but I can do a hi-hat, so I do like I ripped that groove, and I was like, it fits, because in that moment, it's when I'm doing the double bass and that eerie guitar lead comes in that Daniel wrote. And that was just like, I'm taking away from the washiness of like a Crash or something and letting that shine through while still doing a fucking cool as shit pattern. And then also the like kind of syncopated breakdown with the bell. That was like light bulb moment.
Epic.
We hit that once, and I was doing like a really straight ahead feel, and then they were like, what if you did a boom boom and you like let it rest and then come in with like a Thomas Pridgeon groove, and that was just like an epiphany moment, and we were like, we're gonna extend that. We even live, we go one more cycle,
nice,
with the very end breakdown, just to we slow it down even more. So that's
Damn.
a really fun track. Yeah.
It is a song in particular that showcases just everything that you guys do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
if I was to say, like, if somebody was to challenge me to give one example of what you guys do, I would probably be bringing Levitation Tomb to the conversation personally.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly, that's the one that I point people to because it's also just the shortest. I think it's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If they're new
It's your
to
punk
Death
rock
Doom,
song.
exactly.
Yeah.
as close as Power Violence to CIVEROUS will ever get. But I mean, you look
Love
at the
it.
album, you're like, damn, this last song's 10 minutes. So that was me because I was not a big Death Doom guy. I listened to Mortiferum. I'm huge on Inner Arma. I love that.
hell
band.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
they're like a chameleon. So
They
they
are.
shift like all over the place. One of my favorite records of them is the cover album where they just did their own style.
Purple Rain.
Oh yeah, the Purple Rain cover.
Yeah.
And the Neil Young. Yeah, that's
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
But I'm coming from hardcore, I was just fast. 2-minute songs.
Sure.
The first albums I ever got were given to me by a kid that was 2 years older than me. He gave me Collection 2 and Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death. And that was it. Because my parents raised me on classic rock. And I was always just like, what's with these slow songs in here? Like, there would be ballads and shit. And I was just like, I just want everything to be fast all the time. What's the slow stuff? And now I love slow stuff and ballads and R&B and pop. But something about that, that's what I dialed in on. So that's why punk was such a factor. And then being able to shift into metal as I got older, that was just the natural progression. Everyone goes from the Misfits to Metallica at some point.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, it clicked. I got the double kick going. And I was big into metalcore, and then being raised on classic rock in Prague is when I started listening to like the combinations of a lot of that. Animals as Leaders and Tram and Sean. Alonzo's the same way. So we have those influences that kind of they let us bring those to this album. I love Mayze Envy for that jazz section. And it's almost weird because I recorded the drums so long ago that now I have all these new ideas that I do live.
Sure, yeah.
Like even the second guitar interlude on the album, I do something there instead of it just being guitars.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It takes on a new life every time you play it.
Right.
And obviously all the big hits and I'm doing all the normal fills and stuff, but some little things might change and it flows. It is a lot of push-pull, as you said. There's a lot of weird times.
Right.
We don't use a click and stuff, so we really can let that stuff breathe or speed it up. It's really, we go off the energy of the crowd for sure. Isaiah, I think having the dedicated frontman is also a huge just energy enhancer live. Right. He just gets people going. If it's a small stage, he always ends up in the crowd. And it's a blast. It gets us. We're able to look up and be like, "Yeah, okay, let's fucking go!" Right?
Yep, absolutely.
Because man, we played the whole album in Seattle for Disemboweled Godfest. Shout out Freiberger and all those people, all those bands. Amazing time. And yeah, that was the first time. We've been practicing the full thing, but that was the first time we got to play the whole album live, all the interludes, all the samples. And it's a marathon. So it was cool. Like Levitation Tomb, I'm like, all right, we're more than halfway, but I'm a little gassed.
Yeah,
and then
bro.
people just start going crazy for that breakdown. And I was like, all right, I can dial it in for 20 more minutes, you know?
Yeah,
literally at that point, I'm like, I still got half the set between Mayze Envy and Gary on. So,
dude, you got some balls on you. I got to tell you, man, to be able to play what you're playing for that length of time. Mad respect, man. Drums is my primary instrument, and I can speak to it, dude. You gotta have that gas tank, man.
Yeah, it is my primary workout. I just do that, and I got my little fucking bike in my apartment, and that's it. Just cardio. Drums.
Yeah.
I don't know. I learned from, I forget if it was Dave Elich or the guy from Def Heaven on a podcast, because for years I was that guy in the back warming up on the pad for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I would still play, and I'm like, why am I not warmed up? And I don't touch a pad. I bring one sometimes just so people don't think I'm crazy. but I really don't play it. I do jumping jacks for 5 minutes before the set. Boom.
Right.
What's warming up on the pad going to do? It's going to warm up your
Stationary.
hands, right?
Yep.
You're not getting ready to play a set of rudiments. You're
That's
getting
right.
ready to play a full kick. Get those legs moving.
Right. Exactly
I did that. The first time I did that was when we were in Mexico City. And I just remember being 2 songs in, and I was like, holy shit, I feel juiced up. I was like, this is it, man.
Let's go.
I was like,
Let's go.
is this like natural steroids? 5 minutes of jumping jacks. And I was just, it's really fun because especially I think we've got some longer runs coming up. We've got Europe for like 12 days. That's long for us because we all work full time and stuff.
Yeah.
But you really do have to. I learned very quickly the first run we did. I was like, okay, you got to take care of yourself in some way.
Yeah.
So if I'm taking breaks from drinking or something, that's great. But hit those jumping jacks, man.
Right.
Some quick, you can do it in the hotel room. Hotel gyms are a godsend. I know most of our guys do something there on show day just to get the blood pumping. You're going to be doing a lot of head banging, but it's important to take care of yourself on the road. Absolutely. Especially back-to-back shows and stuff. Some of those bands that do it 30 nights at a time, I'm like,
how do they do it? Yeah.
You guys are crazy. I have friends that are starting to do that, and they're just like, I might look okay, but I'm dead. They're like 3 weeks into like a national run. I'm like,
the mall dudes did that last year. We were talking to Garrett about that.
Road dogs, man. Like,
dude,
it's like they'll do like a 30-day run, go back home for a few days, back at it.
Yeah,
like
20 days or so.
And that's love
crazy.
That about like that is just I don't know, just like
grind.
Man.
That's the grind.
The grind.
You got
Absolutely. Isaiah says the same thing. I don't know if you guys have ever. Do you guys know Car Bomb?
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
And Car Bomb. They're one of my
right.
favorites. And they have that documentary that they made like 2008 or something, like Why We Do This.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that when I was like 15, 16. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I don't care if I lose money. I just want to be in a van with my dudes playing fucking shows. I don't care how many people are there. I just want to do that at some point.
Absolutely.
Right? And Isaiah was the same way. Him and Daniel grew up together. Our guitarist and our vocalist grew up together. And they went to see like the Faceless when he was 15. That was his first metal show. And he saw Derek Rydquist on stage, who's now on our fucking song. This was like a big full circle moment.
Right.
And he was like, I want to do that. And he had his family saying the same thing.
That's incredible.
Like, you want to play death metal? I think they even had a member at one point that was like, you guys want to play Death Doom forever? And they were like, yeah. What do you mean? That's why we started the band. So
it gives a shot.
Yeah. I met my girlfriend's family for the first time, and they asked me the same thing. They were like, you don't make any money? I was like, no, it's death metal. And they were like, so why do you do it? And I was like, because I love it.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, man. Drums is like one of the things I'm lucky to be good at. So fuck it, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
As long as I keep playing. Shout out to my parents. They also told I came to LA 7 years ago.
I was getting ready to ask if you're originally from the West Coast.
East Coast.
I thought you had that East Coast accent.
Probably coming out a little bit now.
Yeah.
We're a beer in here. Originally from Connecticut. Bunch of family from New York, and I was lucky enough to have a musician family. My mom played violin, dad played guitar, and he and I are kind of flip-flops. He asked his parents for a drum set, they gave him a guitar. I asked my parents for a guitar, and they were crazy enough to give me a drum set. All the men on my mom's side of the family played drums. So they got me a drum set before I even knew it. They got me one when I was 3. Wow. And I was there's some awesome ancient photos of that, and then they made me once music got serious, they were like, okay, you have to prove that you're gonna practice and take lessons. So I did piano with a local teacher, and I committed to that, and then they got me another drum set, and that was it. Bless their hearts, because they put it in my room above their room, and I was like, you guys are actually insane.
Right.
You could have had a nice, peaceful acoustic guitar, but you're like, get him the Ludwig.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, I started playing like rock songs with my dad, the Beatles, Zeppelin, all
Sure.
that. I started lessons when I was like 13. Up until that point, I was pretty much self-taught. There was this legendary place on the East Coast Music Mall. Sadly, it is no longer there. It was legendary. Like 80s hair metal bands used to play there back in the day, and it was like a venue and like one of the biggest stores. I took lessons from John Fowler, who played in, I cannot remember the name of the band. They have like a huge 80s hair metal ballad, Steel Horse or some shit like that. Not my cup of tea.
Right.
But he taught me the ropes. And sadly, he passed away. So for a few years, I was like, oh boy, I don't know if I want to start lessons again with someone.
Yeah.
And then I started with my music teacher from elementary school, actually was a drummer. Took lessons from him. Huge shout out Dennis Arcano. Love him to death. He's played drums on Broadway, stuff like that. So I had a very jazz educational background.
Very cool.
With like my formal lessons.
Yeah.
He actually, I capped out with him. He was like, I can't teach you anything that I don't know. So I'm going to refer you to my teacher, who was Roger Post, in Newtown, Connecticut.
Wow.
He is an absolute legend. He's played with Keith Carlock. He's played with Steely Dan.
Nice.
And that was a humbling experience. Everything I did with that man, I think I call back to that all the time. The technique demon in my head, as I call it, is him. He's always there. Your wrists are too high. What the fuck are you doing? People always, as a drummer, people always ask me about whiplash, and I was like, not to that extent, but I had my own J.K. Simmons.
Fuck.
But he made me who I am. He affected all my playing. And I thank him for that foundation, because I use that now in CIVEROUS, with Alonzo being like, hey, get ready for some weird time shit. Get ready for some jazz shit. I'm like, oh, God, Roger would hate me right now. But we gotta get back into it, man. The one thing that will stick with me for the rest of my life, when he was teaching me to do the swing on the ride, it was all about finger motion and swinging your elbow.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think you just lift your whole arm. He would hold his stick on my wrist here, and if I lifted my wrist and hit the stick, he would just fucking smack it.
Christ.
I just remember for
Nurse
weeks,
Ratchet.
I'd be at home just like, literally like a nun with the ruler. I was like,
wow.
Oh, God. And you had to keep going. But goddamn, it taught me a lot of discipline. It taught me the real musicality of the drums.
Here's the real drum question. What size of the stick was it? Was it like a 5B or 7A?
7A.
Okay. So it was like a...
Thankfully.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Nice little jazz. No 2Bs. No 5Bs. Which is funny. I play with, like, for a while, I was still using 7As. And I was like, okay, these are too light.
Yeah.
As hard as I hit, I'm just not going to get the same sound.
Right
now, I rock the Jojo Meyer Vic First. I love them. They're like a 5A with a little bit more reach.
Yeah.
The only thing that sucks is they painted them, so sometimes if it's a hot ass venue, they're slipping all over the place.
Yeah.
I hate that. 5Bs are great. I'm honestly thinking about switching to those just for the power. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, I just need to be able to. I still get them to sing, and they said we sound great when we're live, but it would be nice to not have to work as hard to get the power.
Yeah, right. Right.
But I'm very old fashioned in that regard. I love chain pedals. I like a wood snare drum and a shit ton of cymbals. I'm big on my cymbal accents. That comes from like Periphery and all that shit.
Sure.
Those guys, it's the joke back in the day when they were starting was like, if the cymbals are moving or they're not moving, like something's wrong.
Yeah.
There's always got to be a cymbal.
Right. Right.
A lot of it's cool. It's a lot of textures.
For sure.
And I'm glad we worked with Andrew was so good at picking up what I was trying to do on this new record with like the splash and the China accents and stuff, and it just all cuts through, and I'm super happy with that.
Was there anything whenever you guys went in to record the album, let's say, that changed drastically on the album and the final product? I'm just kind of curious, like, what was the preparation like going in whenever you guys recorded the album? Were things open to develop further, or did you guys have your ideas pretty much locked down?
Drums were pretty locked down. We had every song done. We did drums first, and the guys played live in the control room, and I had them pumping in my ears. And then I don't think anything changed. There might have been some sections where we altered tempo because we did not record the album to a click.
Wow.
Yeah, it's raw dog.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, which we were a little scared of because we had all our pre-pro tracks. We had like recorded pre-pro and shown it to Andrew and whatnot.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Trust me, no click." And I was kind of like, "Hey, that sounds fun. I'm in charge."
Yeah, exactly. I love that challenge as a drummer.
And the rest of them were like, what about the metronome? And I was like, nah, we don't need it.
Nah.
I'm the metronome. So I think that was a great decision. I think it gives it a lot of the natural breathing.
Yes.
It's not to say we're like off time, but there's so many sections where it's a sudden change or there's a slowdown. And to sit there and put that on a grid and do all that shit it would take more time than it was worth.
Sure.
And we had already been rehearsing live and stuff, so it just made sense. If there was a big like levitation tomb, I think we ring out and then we all come in on just a hit. So we were just able to visually communicate that through the control room.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great experience. I think doing it that way brought out the best performances that I had in me at the time because I did it in 1 day.
Oh, all your drum tracks in 1 day?
1 day.
Son.
Ooh.
Did the whole album 1 day. Yeah.
From like sunrise to sunset?
Yeah, Steakhouse
Damn.
Studios with Kevin, awesome guy. He's done some amazing stuff. He helped with like some crazy mic placement and shit. He let me use, let me think, hardware that was on it. We had a Gretsch bell brass. I used most of my cymbals, so I used a Zildjian K-Dark Crash Ride as a crash. I used his Heisty 2002 as a ride. The bell on that thing is crispy. Sounds like a fucking train's coming.
Yeah.
I have a Wuhan China with rivets in it. A Zildjian A Custom Brilliant Crash. A Zildjian Trash Former Splash. And then Meinl Byzance Extra Dry hats. I think 14 inches. I gotta get the Zildjian hats. Those Meinl, that's the only thing that Meinl makes that I think is better than Zildjian. And I'm like, come on, Zildjian, give me some fucking dry hi-hats.
Yeah.
Those things are awesome. And I don't know, it was just all the right textures. And again, doing it in the studio, I don't think that much changed. Maybe we switched like one blast to a different subdivision or something like that. But the structure was like locked in. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. I love when bands are doing that. It seems like more and more are taking that approach and like not recording with a click.
I didn't think I was going to get the chance to do a like live recording like that so soon. Granted, we didn't record drum or guitars and stuff the same day, but just to be able to play live with them for the recording, I think that's fun as hell. Absolutely. I don't know if I'll go back to doing it the other way if we can afford it, but
right. Was the decision to do that just at the recommendation of your producer? That's how you wanted to approach it, or?
That was all Andrew. We thought, I think like a week before he told us that, or like 2 weeks before, because we had pre-pro tracks where Alonzo like mapped out a click and all the shifts and stuff, and we had practiced to that a few times. And Andrew was the one that was just like, let's do no click. I think he listened to it and he recognized that just it would save time, and because we had been playing or rehearsing live together, it just made more sense.
Didn't suspect. That's one thing that coming away from this conversation that I'm thoroughly shocked with is, the live recording approach.
I love that approach.
I love it.
It puts a little special sauce in that, like,
for sure.
I mean, like we never did anything to that extent, but like back in the day, like doing EPs, we would always do it live or do it in separate rooms,
right?
Yeah,
to a scratch track and stuff like that. Like, and it always it has this like feel to the average person. You really wouldn't appreciate it, but to someone who really truly loves music, it is amazing.
There's an energy and a chemistry that
adds
transfers.
that energy, yeah. The atmosphere.
Exactly, organic energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was just me and they're all sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah.
I'd still be doing good takes and stuff, but I think having them play with me, I was like, it felt like we're just playing, and it took some of the pressure off of me because I was like, woo, one day, 42 minutes of drums, let's go.
Yeah.
And we did like a handful of punch-ins on certain sections just to like make sure transitions were as good as they could be. But I think some of those are like full takes. And we got it, and it was good. And obviously, I listened to it. I'm like, God, there's shit I would do different. There's stuff I do now to make it a little more interesting. But I'm very happy with it. Where musicians are always self-critical. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Well, if you aren't getting any better, comfort's a thief. So
absolutely, cheers to that. Yeah.
Aiden, how long have you been playing drums? Just out of curiosity.
I technically since I was 3, but I usually say 8 is when I got that Ludwig black set, and that's when I started really taking it seriously.
Yeah, being more dedicated and getting practicing.
So 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been on and off. There've been periods where I just didn't have access to a spot. When I was in college, I went to DePaul University in Chicago. And I think about that. I'm like, fuck, man. My school didn't let me do a music minor. I majored in sound for film.
Yeah.
And I'm a sound effects editor now. But they didn't let you do a minor in the School of Music, so I had no access to those practice rooms.
Shit.
I literally, the guys at Guitar Center, they loved me and they hated me. I was there every week. That was the only place I could play.
Hey, man, you made it work.
And they had some like private rooms with drums that wasn't as annoying, and I could go in there just to play for a little.
Yeah.
That's when I got into like a lot of production and stuff. I was doing Pro Tools work for school anyway, so I made like a little bit of electronic stuff on the side. But that was the biggest, like, I'd say, break. And obviously I was going home for like spring break, summer, and whatever. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to take full advantage of being able to play drums in a basement at any time of day while I have access to it. And that's when I just like was shredding. I was like watching videos at college of Thomas Pridgeon and Aaron Spears and Larnell Lewis, just fucking analyzing that shit. Not on the level of transcription, I wasn't that good, but just picking apart what those guys were doing. And when I finally had the opportunity, just
piecing
really hit the watershed. And that was a huge area of growth, which is funny considering how much of the year I wasn't playing. And then, I came out here and it's been a constant. I have like a little practice pad set up here. I think you might be able to see I have a jazz kit up there. It's like the little Questlove Ludwigs. I was doing some gigs with those.
I've actually thought about buying one of those. How are they?
Great little kit.
Yeah.
Really fun little cocktail kit. You can dial it in. Great little shells.
Nice.
Super portable. Love that thing.
Hell yeah.
The kit I'm running now is a Pearl Crystal Beat. The band that I was in before CIVEROUS, Helldweller, the homie Dan actually got it like for free from a unhoused guy in Venice.
Holy shit.
He was on the beach with like a bunch of drum sets and he was playing, and Dan played drums a little, so he sat with the guy and the guy was like, "You want it?" So we were in the band together, and then that band kind of dissipated, and he's a tattooer, so he finally got a full-time job, and he was like, "You know what? You just keep it. You're gonna use it more than me." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's incredible.
I owe that guy like a life debt.
That's amazing.
Because I got a free acrylic drum set. I've been a Ludwig guy, so I'm like, it's not a Vista Light,
right?
It doesn't fucking matter.
Man, I'm hoping to make that jump someday. The acrylic sets were semi-popular in the early '90s too, briefly. And there's just like a reverberation that comes with acrylic that people don't realize. Compared to wood.
Very true. I'm more practical. I'm lazy. If I can leave my drums in my car without them warping, I'm a huge fan.
I hear that.
No one rob me, please. But I mean, I don't leave them out like on the street and stuff. But like, I have a parking spot in my place and whatever. It's so nice because I think I left that floor tom in for like one afternoon, and I went out and got it at 5 p.m. And I was like, God damn it, man! I didn't have to worry about that as much in Connecticut. It was not as hot.
Yeah.
And it was humid, so the wood would be okay if you cracked your windows or something.
Yeah.
But I was very quickly like, ooh, I just happened to get lucky with that acrylic, and I was like, okay, this makes that easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What do you play now? What do you play currently?
I got a Gretsch Catalina Club mod set.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I've had that for 15, 16 years maybe.
Yeah.
I've had it for a while. We bought it.
Those will last
before
forever,
we went
man.
and did like a weekender or something.
And it's still in great shape. Right?
Yeah, it's in pretty good shape still yet. I've been wanting to get something smaller that's not so big, to gig out and stuff. Something that's a little bit more practical in case, you have to do like a little tight, somebody's got to jump in with you for a ride for a gig or something, like you can fit more than just your equipment. Because my drums, like anytime we ever played out, took up like half of our shit.
Well, that bass drum, bass drum is gigantic.
Yeah,
it's like a damn cannon.
Those are usually at least like 20 inches.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Long.
That's the one good thing about that Questlove set. That kick is like 18 or 16.
Yeah, right.
It is so tiny.
I've watched all kinds of demos, but it doesn't ever live up to actually playing one or be in the room and listening to one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, out of the box, you got to do some work. They give you the standard, weird ass heads. And who knows? But yeah, they're solid little drums, especially for the price tag. If you just need a gigging kit, I highly recommend. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, and I'm pretty much like a Zildjian guy when it comes to cymbals. Although I've had good experience with like pasties and a few Sabin.
Yes.
But like I've never really fucked with the Wuhan stuff too much myself. I've had a few Minels too that were okay, like crashes and stuff.
Didn't you have a Wuhan crash?
Minels are solid.
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
No.
Sorry.
Wuhan, I will only get Chinas. Just because I'd rather China.
I did have a China briefly.
I thought you had a Wuhan China.
Very briefly.
They're cheap. They break a lot.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's a specific purpose,
Yeah. I crank my China on purpose to get it like
tight,
extra dry, like you're hitting a trash can kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't mind if it cracks and it's a Wuhan, get another. I would mind if it was a Zildjian Oriental or something, right? So I'm like, fuck it, get the cheap one.
Right.
But I'm a big Zildjian guy, always have been. The Minels are great. I have one Paiste. It's from when I was 13. They did the Joey Jordison black full Paiste alphas, and I have one crash. And every now and then I just use it as a joke.
Yeah, sure.
That thing is so fucking heavy. I've never really bought metal-specific cymbals. I have mostly jazz cymbals.
Yeah.
And that thing is heavy. It sounds gross.
Yeah. It's absurd.
It's a little too metallic. I was listening to the Def Heaven guy, Daniel, say the same shit. He uses jazz cymbals, washier.
Yeah.
But that's just like you're literally just hitting a steel beam.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Man, talk about another drummer that's got to have some cardio. That son of a bitch.
Oh my god!
Holy hell! It's an absolute machine there.
Mm-hmm.
I learned he struggles a lot with his wrists and his wrist pain.
Really?
I learned this from his Downbeat episode. He dunks his arms in buckets of ice in between songs. And he was like, yeah, I love playing Infinite Granite because it gives me a fucking break from Black Breath for 9 minutes.
Yes. Yes.
Black Brick, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's incredible. They haven't really played our area, St. Louis, in a long time. I don't think they've played here since the Sunbather tour, the original one. That's when I saw him.
Yeah, when Intronaut played Between the Buried and Me, wasn't that what?
I think so.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
I love seeing Intronaut. Intronaut is a band I've followed forever, and finally being able to see them live, and they just completely demolished.
Amazing band.
Yeah.
Same thing here. I remember listening to them and then finally seeing them and just was like, the execution is flawless, man. Those are talented guys.
I know. And they got, some of that jazz background, the fretless bass.
Yes.
Oh, the fretless is so good.
Yeah.
I saw them with Entheos when Entheos still was playing live with Evan Brewer. So that was, I was just like bass overload that night. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Being a drummer also, one of your favorite instruments
The
has
rhythm
to be the
section.
bass, right?
Yeah, that's my guy, man.
Yeah.
Shout out Drew. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of rate your experiences with bass players in your current band versus other bass players you played in your past with, you know?
I don't think I've ever played with a bad bass player.
Well, you're a lucky guy.
That's one of the positions I've been really lucky. Let me give some shout outs here.
Go for it.
High school jazz band, Dan Manning.
Damn, son.
Legend.
Call back.
His band now is Reduction Plan. Some really cool emo, goth, dark wave, somewhere in that realm. Amazing bass player. Then I played with Doug Toussaint, also in high school jazz band. Awesome guy. He's a music educator now. Trevor was amazing. That kid was like a Jimi Hendrix in a 13-year-old.
Oh wow.
Most of the guys out here have been phenomenal. Hell Dweller, the first one was Dan. He did vocals and bass. Then we brought in Juan, who's currently in Firestarter. And they were tremendous energy, off the charts. Some of my favorite guys ever to play with. Even Spencer from my first band out here was great. Honestly, I've been very lucky. Drew now is phenomenal. That man has some crazy tone.
Crazy chops.
Crazy chops, crazy tone. And it's crazy. Alonso comes to us with these dumbass riffs, and we just come up like that. And Drew always like 5 minutes. Which yeah, and then it's just locked in.
Yeah,
and he's a noise guy too, so his pedal board. I can't tell you any specifics because I'm drum brained.
I hear you.
But holy shit, I think it's a rainbow generator or something
rainbow
fucking
machine.
Rainbow. Yes.
Yeah, the Earthquaker.
Yep.
Before we had samples and transitions, he would just do like a mini 30-second noise set in between every song. That thing has some awesome textures.
Yes, it does. You mentioned it earlier too. I gotta go down a rabbit hole here, a little side mission. You said that you're a big fan of film. You're a film guy. Tell me some favorite directors.
Do you want like my Letterboxd top 4 or favorite directors?
Yeah, favorite directors. Ooh. Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore of directors. Okay. I'm going to give it to Tobe Hooper because he changed the game.
I'm for it.
I'll put Ridley Scott up there.
Okay.
Brad Bird, I'm giving it to him.
Oh. I like that.
Because I'm a sucker for animation.
Yeah. Mission Impossible worked too in his catalog.
That is so hard now that I'm thinking about how many people I just left out.
Well.
Oh, Denny Villeneuve.
Oh, yeah. Denny's the man.
Everything
no
he's
misses.
done. And my honorable mention is the Safdie Bros, because those two movies changed my life.
Yeah, those guys are killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Time was amazing. Uncut Gems, amazing. That performance he got out of Kevin Garnett.
I
should
say.
Incredible.
Dude, Kevin Garnett was a great act. I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Both of those movies, having rewatched both so many times, I think I kind of like Good Time more.
I'm with you. I lean that way.
Uncut Gems is more anxiety inducing.
Absolutely.
Even though I know what's gonna happen and nothing changes, blah blah blah.
He just keeps making the worst choices constantly.
Howard just fucking stresses me out, man. Just stop.
Absolutely.
Good Time is just I don't know. I think
it's more
really
Shakespearean
great about their writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get you to root for assholes, man.
Very
Robert
tragic.
Pattinson's character was not
deplorable.
A nice guy.
No.
Absolutely
Shitty
not. My
to his
girlfriend hated it because he kisses the underage chick to hide himself on TV.
Yeah.
And she was like, all right, I don't like this movie anymore. And I was like, the point is he's an asshole.
You're right. Exactly.
Yeah. Those movies are crazy. Alien, I think my top 4 movies would easily be Texas Chainsaw is number 1.
Yes.
Incredibles. And then Blade Runner, it literally bounces between the original and 2049. 2049 is a little too slow at some parts.
I agree. Trim about 20 minutes out, it'd be tighter.
The wooden horse, I start falling asleep. I'm like, come on, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. And fucking Empire Strikes Back. God damn. That was it. I saw that when I was like 5. Scared the shit out of me when they go in the giant worm with the bats on the hull of the Falcon. And that was what made me be like, how do they do this? I want to do this.
Yeah.
And then The Incredibles, right after that, I think it was 2000 or 2004. I forget when that was. 2004.
Yeah, early 2000s.
That was like the animation thing. I saw Toy Story and I loved it, but Incredibles' world to me was just like way more imagination based and whatnot. Even though the Toy Story was talking toys and shit.
Right.
And I just fell in love with animation. Yeah. Anything by Ghibli, anything by Pixar.
Oh yeah.
All the big ones. There's been a really great resurgence with stop motion. Shout out Phil Tippett.
For sure.
He
Absolutely.
did Empire Strike Back and all that.
Yep.
Mad God was amazing.
I love Mad God. It was one of my favorite movies that year.
We already saw our first like post Mad God film, the stop motion horror film.
Incredible. Got the chick from Nightingale in it.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think before those two I've ever watched a feature-length stop-motion besides, like, a big studio. Kubo is amazing. Box Trolls.
For sure.
Yeah.
Coraline and the Light.
But I think my two genres would definitely be horror and then just anything under animation.
Yeah.
I love it all.
What is, like, maybe a favorite film that's come out in, like, the last 5 years for you? Just out of curiosity.
Ooh. All right, the obvious one, Dune 2 was a fucking experience.
Haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please,
I will be seeing it this weekend.
IMAX.
I'm seeing it this
They
weekend.
extended it until like end of this month. As a sci-fi fan, I don't know. It is insane.
I keep hearing that from everybody. I liked Dune 1, but it's if you ever saw David Lynch's Dune, which David Lynch is probably my second favorite director of all time. So there's that.
Okay.
And I understand that his version of Dune or whatever has been divisive over the years. A lot of it's studio influence, at the time.
Yeah.
That try to make him do what they wanted him to do. Studios were a little bit more powerful back then.
Yeah, the studio interference on that movie is notorious. Shout out Sting, though. Amazing.
Absolutely. I love Sting in that. I mean, there's everything, every acting choice. Sir Patrick Stewart as Gertie in that, also incredible, incredible.
Isn't that when McLaughlin was like kind of unknown?
Yes. That was his first major role.
Blue Velvet, right?
Yeah, it was before Blue Velvet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was 84. Blue Velvet's 86, I believe, if I remember correctly. However, great actor. I think great actor as well.
My favorites from the last 5 years, I think I've got two. Oh, three. Okay.
Give it to me.
Possessor.
Yes, I like Possessor a lot.
By Brandon Cronenberg.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Coincidentally, David Cronenberg's my number one. So.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite director.
The Northman.
Mm-hmm. People sleep on The Northman.
Was a masterpiece.
I agree.
I haven't seen it yet.
People sleep on it.
I grew up a huge fan of Greek and Norse mythology.
Yes.
And they all suck. Wrath of the Titans and that shit.
Yeah.
Even like the big ones like Troy and whatnot, they were not that good.
Yeah.
The Northman feels like you're in that world and it is fucking
nasty.
visceral, man. Nasty. In the best way. Skarsgård is an absolute
beast.
King. Killing it right now. And I will give number 3. These are probably all equal. These are all on equal footing to me. I think these 3 are masterpieces. Sound of Metal.
Oh, Sound of Metal is incredible.
As a metal drummer, I don't think I will ever not wear earplugs again.
Yeah.
That movie fucking is.
Ugh.
It's
turning my stomach right now.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is.
But it's so beautiful.
It is also.
It's really, that was like a transcendental watch for me. I
agree.
I am a new person because of this movie.
That movie gets slept on, and it often gets forget how fantastic it is.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
People loved it, and then they moved right on. But that one really stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there was other kind of movies kind of similar to that, too, that came out close to it, like Another Round. That was a great movie. Incredible movie. And our boy Mads shining away in his role there.
I haven't seen
Michelson.
it.
Oh, man, that was a great movie, too.
I love him.
Yeah, one of the best.
Have you guys seen Hannibal, the
show?
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of my top 5 shows of all time.
We were very obsessed with that show while it was going on.
Very much.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, him and is it
wish we
Hugh
could get a
Dancy?
reprise
Or
of
no, something Hugh.
Yeah, Hugh Dancy.
It is Hugh Dancy.
Hugh
Yeah,
Dancy.
okay, I got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the two of them and their chemistry, it was incredible too. Like that was on network television, and you would see like the death spreads and stuff too. I'm like, how is this on NBC at 7 o'clock?
Channel 4.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm glad I'm not a kid channel surfing while this is on. Holy shit.
I'll be curious.
Because even as an adult, some of those things, I had to take a break from that show. I was like, this is getting intense.
Yeah, and like active cannibalism on it, like too. Like,
that too. 7 p.m. Channel 4.
Hey, a lot of David Slade in that too. David Slade directed a lot of those episodes.
That's true.
Yeah, good guy. Also slept on.
There's been a pretty good string of shows recently, specifically like the limited series, like Beef.
Yes,
and that Watchmen
show.
Yes,
Beef was amazing. That new season of Watchmen, it was great. I'm really into The Bear. Also, I didn't think that would be like my type of thing.
Yeah.
Shogun is amazing. That's on right now.
Shogun is amazing.
The costuming alone is incredible. The gore,
the
insane.
Whole production design is just so they fucking nailed
These
it.
These motherfuckers better be getting every award that they're nominated for because it is incredible.
They're gonna get nominated.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Trying to think. Are you guys horror guys, or you have a favorite genre?
I lean horror by default. Yeah, but I really watch anything.
Do you guys have like a recent like 5-year favorite horror movie?
Oh yeah.
What was the one that came out last year on Shudder? The
When Evil Lurks.
When Evil Lurks.
When Evil Lurks
was
unreal.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
That destroyed me. That was such a good movie.
That's probably like your favorite movie of the last 5 years?
I would say probably within the past 5 years, yeah. I mean, I really loved X.
Yeah.
And Pearl, but...
I love those. I'm excited for Maxine.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm pumped. That trailer looks amazing. That cast is insane.
Really fun.
I'm a big fan of like the Terrifier films too. And those are
fun.
Those are fun. It's just good. Shut off your brain.
Yeah,
fun.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that someone's keeping the B exploitation kind of stuff.
Absolutely,
without being as crude as some of the stuff that started it. It's just violent, over the top.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with. Those are fun.
Yeah.
Art the Clown is a cool little new icon too.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think there needs to be that with every generation of horror fans, and I think he's kind of
which I liked, like that All Hallows Eve, like they did like the little mini story sort of things, and then he's
done
in there,
so many like shorts, with art.
Right.
Yeah, really liked Talk to Me.
That was
a really good concept. That I loved.
I went in like
fresh.
Not knowing what to expect, and one of my friends' reviews took me out. He was like, "Can we go back to like the fun horror movies? This shit was depressing, bro."
It was depressing.
Yeah, it's kind of meant to be. I like a lot of movies are tackling mental health as a horror subject. Smiled at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, Talk to Me was a top 3 film for me for last year. I can like actually quickly punch off my list because we actually on our podcast every year we do a film review. Favorite films of the year.
Fuck yeah.
So we dedicate a whole like 2.5 hours. We just fucking go off.
We also do that with the albums too.
Yeah, we also do albums at the end of the year too.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we just fucking sit around. We do kind of like the round table discussion, like drinks, a little smokes. Getting passed around, everybody hanging, chilling, having a good time. But so my top 5 last year was Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Talk to Me, Infinity Pool, and Dream Scenario. Those were my favorite movies last year.
Infinity Pool was phenomenal. Yep. I loved that.
I love the
whole... A lot of people around me did not, but I was like, I don't give a fuck.
I love the whole Eat the Rich theme that's going on there for sure.
Yeah, that's what... You know the show White Lotus?
Yes.
Yeah, yep. I gave that a watch, like season 1, and it was good. And then I saw Infinity Pool, and I was like, this is what White Lotus dreams it could be.
Sure.
To new heights with that sci-fi Cronenberg edge.
Yes, 100%.
So fucking cool.
In 2022, my top 5 list was Nope, Banshees of Inisherin, X, Pearl, and then a tie between Prey and Mad God. But
Prey was amazing.
Nice.
I felt bad that I had Barbarian and Northman were my next in line, and this indie film called The Righteous, one of the most intense movies that I've seen. The Righteous. Yep, came out in 2022. Check it out. It's basically 3 actors, the whole movie. Most of it is just between 2 actors, and the scene is inside of a cabin. They moved to like 2 or 3 different rooms. It's very minimalistic, black and white. It is one of the most intense movies I've seen, maybe ever.
Damn.
Ever.
Okay, I'm putting that on my list
Resurrection
right now.
was a very
Resurrection was another good one last year for sure.
My 2022 is kind of similar. Banshees, X, Mad God, Pearl, Prey, Fire of Love, which is the documentary about the couple that goes into the volcano.
Yes, I actually haven't seen that, but I am aware of it. I need to check that out.
Unbelievable.
I need to check that
Unbelievable. And then I put Pinocchio, Barbarian, Crimes of the Future.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And what did I do for 2023? John Wick 4.
Love it.
Yes.
Infinity Pool. When Evil Lurks. Oppenheimer.
Love it.
Godzilla -1. Boy and the Heron. The Killer.
Hell yeah.
And then some fucking fun ones. Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
VHS 85.
Yes.
Thanksgiving, Bottoms, and Barbie.
Thanksgiving was strong.
Thanksgiving was great.
Thanksgiving knocked my socks.
I was like,
I went
is Eli Roth back now?
I think he's
Eli
back.
Roth's back.
Hopefully.
He's back,
Yeah.
man. That
That was
was
good.
my favorite thing I think he's ever done.
That's kind of been his baby for a while. Like that's been his project
Right.
he's been wanting to do for a long time, right?
Yeah, well, they did the exploitation
There's a trailer for that.
in
Yeah.
the Grindhouse
Exactly. In Grindhouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went and saw that double
Alright,
feature
you
the
guys-
night it
yeah.
came out, dude. That was incredible with all the trailer bumpers in between, too.
Fuck yes.
That was amazing. That was one of my
That
best
was like,
theater
what,
getting.
2013?
I think it was earlier than
Maybe
that.
a
I think it was like
little bit before. It was
07.
way earlier.
07,
Is it 07 or 08, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
Goddamn, it's been a while.
Yeah, he's been cooking that. He's been cooking that for a while. No pun intended. That was a treat.
My
that was just fun.
my 21 list was Spider-Man No Way Home, PG,
Great.
Psycho Goreman,
Psycho Goreman rules.
Psycho Gorman.
Green Knight, Candyman, Lamb, and Licorice Pizza, and Judas and the Black Messiah are my favorites. That year.
Ooh,
That was a
good
good strong list.
Licorice Pizza was great.
Fantastic. I had no idea that like the Haim chick, how good of an actress she was incredible.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to put that on the list.
Yeah. But yeah, man, a lot of good movies kind of quietly come out. I thought last year was actually a little lacking compared to like heavy hitters,
Same.
like 2023 in general.
Mhm.
Like I didn't feel as passionate about it. 2022 actually had a lot of deep cuts, I feel like.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, 22 was very good.
Yeah.
That I hadn't looked at my list in a while. I'm like, God damn, that was a year.
Yeah. I remember being like, God damn, because I track as I watch on Letterboxd and then I try to rank them and then I visit them every couple months and then rank them again.
Okay.
To try to refresh myself. And if I don't always rewatch a ton of movies, but if there's some that I'm just like, I got to rewatch that for fun, or I just got to rewatch that because I need to digest it a little bit more. You know, there's different reasons for rewatches for sure.
Absolutely.
But when I do, it
Yeah.
certainly usually ranks toward the top end of the list if I'm going to go back to it the second time.
Okay.
You know,
For sure. I mean, it has to be worth giving
Right.
it a second watch in the first
like
place.
I
right?
thought Oppenheimer was like the most important film last year just because of that powerful ending with the sequence of the nuclear.
ending was
Yeah. We went fucking stoned to the bone to go watch that too. And
dude.
I was like, damn, son, this is like heavy. It's overwhelming. It's crazy that this movie is this intense and it's just, a biopic.
Yeah.
I was so locked
And
into that movie, but then there was that.
It's just it's a talking drama.
Yeah.
There's not
a
like,
lot of
the
action
that hooks a lot of normal people.
No.
And same thing, dude. We were doing the Barbie Oppenheimer weekend because it was the same fucking weekend.
Right.
And I was hung over like a motherfucker, and I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep. This movie is 3-something hours, and it's a talking drama.
Yeah.
And I was more awake for that than Barbie. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, Barbie was. I had really no personal interest in seeing it, but my wife and my daughter went on about it, and I know Greta Gerwig's a good director, and I loved everybody involved. Margot Robbie's a great actress. I was like, I'll watch this when it goes to streaming, and I did. And I was like, I was kind of regretting that I didn't go to theaters and see it. Because it was a fun movie. It had been a really good like, popcorn flick to like take my daughter to or something.
Absolutely. Greta's a really important director. She's just doing great work.
I really love Frances Ha. That's my favorite movie of hers still yet.
Ooh, okay. Hell yeah.
It's got a real
fun.
It might be controversial to say, kind of a Woody Allen, Annie Hall charm to it. That's kind of why I like it. It gives the kind of similar beats.
Objectively as the art.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
fun fact, my post house, we used to do like rental spaces, and I would bump into a lot of directors and whatnot, and we had some casting ladies that have done everything for 20 years or so, and they casted Lady Bird out of our place with Saoirse.
Nice.
And everyone in that, so we've got a poster from them. But Greta came in a few days. Absolute pleasure. What a nice person.
Oh, dude, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure living out in LA,
Yeah.
you're bumping all kinds of people for sure. On accident.
Yeah, I mean, especially at a post house, like when they were doing casting. This has all gone away since COVID. They do it all remote now. But I'd walk in the lobby and they'd be like casting a teenage boy with an acoustic guitar, and there's 12 guys that look the fucking same with their own acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. Did I step into the Matrix, bro? Something.
A lot of Agent
right
Smiths
here.
running around here.
Yeah. And they're all playing Wonderwall.
Oh.
Fuck.
Oh, shit. Why did it have to be Wonderwall?
Literally. I don't know. That's the audition song, I guess.
Aiden, man, it has been awesome chopping it up with you and getting to know you. And this film talk also was a little side pleasure, unexpected. Didn't know that was your background, man. And I could talk films all day too, but want to circle things back around.
Same. I'll get you on Letterboxd after.
Hell yeah,
this,
hell yeah. Talk to the good people about where they can keep following CIVEROUS and everything that you guys got going on. What's kind of your primary socials and that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. Our primary social is definitely Instagram. It is CIVEROUS_disease. Because I think to this day there's someone out there with the CIVEROUS tag, and we've asked him for it, but he's not budging.
Oh my!
Oh, that's wild.
So CIVEROUS disease. Check out $20 spin as well. My Instagram is just my full name, Aidan Neuner. AIDANNEUNER. You'll find most of the guys tagged in CIVEROUS stuff. I think Alonzo put out a playthrough today. I put out a playthrough 2 days ago.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That was sick.
Up on YouTube, up on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, those are the socials, I think. And we have our link tree in the Instagram bio for sure. We did like some footage, tour dates, all that stuff is on there.
And of course, we're going to make things real easy for people on the episode. All of this is going to be in the episode details, so you guys can click down. And so you'll be able to hit the jump to everything that CIVEROUS is doing. We'll put Aiden's personal IG in there too.
Yes.
If he's down.
Link and buy that.
Yes, absolutely.
Mayze Envy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
$20.
We're always about supporting the artists, supporting these guys. These guys, this is without question going to be on our top 10 of the albums of the year whenever you hear us talking about it. It is a great, great, solid album. If you love heavy music, give this a whirl. Mayze Envy from CIVEROUS it's going to be one of the best albums you're going to hear this year without question.
For sure. Yes.
Much love, y'all. Appreciate it very much. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, this is Barrett from the ATI podcast. Episodically, I will be chatting with a featured guest bringing a spotlight to their craft. Artists, musicians, filmmakers, actors, small businesses, athletes. Nothing is out of bounds. Hear my discussion with rising talents and entrepreneurs across all traditional podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube. Like what you hear? Be sure to subscribe to the podcast channel of your choice, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. Just click the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star rating. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can get full video episodes of the ATI podcast and see our guests in their work. Stay in touch with our ongoings, events, and guest list across all major social media outlets: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X. Just search the ATI podcast. We would like to thank you all for your continued support, and as always, stay safe out there. Hey there, this is Barrett from the ATI Podcast, here to talk about what we have going on the ATI Podcast Network. First, we'll start with Waxing On with R&J. The format of Waxing On with R&J is audible selections made exclusively by our hosts and brothers, Ridge Jackson and Jake Jackson. Waxing On with R&J is sure to tickle your inner eardrums with some of the most vile tones you've ever encountered, and conversely, ear candy with pop melodies, focusing on spotlighting underground and rising artists. Waxing On with R&J is another outlet of the ATI podcast community to bring awareness to many musicians' craft. Also found on the ATI Podcast Network, Nod Narb's Closet, hosted by Brandon Stewart of Edaws Inn. Nod Narb's Closet is a wing of the ATI podcast programming that delves into the world of roleplay games, miniature painting, diorama making, occasional pro wrestling match watch-alongs, providing commentary with a dash of jocularity and satire, and much, much more. Of course, leading the pack is the ATI Podcast. On the ATI Podcast, we episodically invite guests onto our show to spotlight their talents, whether that's musicians, filmmakers, artists, actors, businesses, even athletes. Nothing is off the table. The focus of the ATI Podcast and its collective creative arms, whether that's Waxing On with R&J or Nod Narb's Closet, is to bring awareness and focus to people's talents. Be sure to follow us across all traditional podcasting platforms, and for the full experience, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search the ATI Podcast. Stay safe out there.